All right, a good Wednesday morning to you. Time for the Fox 26 weather update. I'm meteorologist John Dawson, and the good news for today is another quiet pattern expected across southeast Texas. Unfortunately, might be the last day for a while. For another couple of days, it'll be quiet. Basically, we're going to be looking at another round of some storms and heavy rain returning on Thursday and Friday. But let's not get too far ahead of ourselves. Let's focus on the today part of things. And yes, expecting another fantastic looking day. High temperatures right about 90 degrees. So some of us a little bit more, some of us a little bit less. And you'll definitely notice the return of the winds out of the Gulf from the south, moving in off of the Gulf, and that, of course, is going to begin to bring in those humidity a little bit. I do want to pause just a minute and sort of point out the fact that you'll see a lot of green shaded counties over here. This is the folks over in Lake Charles, National Weather Service office there, already getting a jump on these heavy rains, expecting the possibility of some flooding. So this is actually a flood watch that has already been issued for the Thursday and Friday time frame. We certainly think that flooding could be a possibility, and I think we're waiting a little bit longer. At least I think our National Weather Service folks are monitoring everything very closely. But at this point, we haven't received those flood watches yet. We'll see what happens, of course, as we get a little bit closer in to actual event time. We'll put it that way. All right, no need to look at any rain totals. We've been quiet over the last 24 hours, but high temperatures today expected, as I mentioned, right in that 100-degree range. You notice the winds, see that little sort of clockwise rotation that's happening there. That's always around high pressure. So at the surface, we have some high pressure more or less here in the corner of Texas and Louisiana, and that flow is beginning that clockwise direction as that high pressure continues to track a little bit further over to our east and a little bit maybe to the southeast. That again opens things up for those winds coming in off of the Gulf. Here's what we did yesterday as far as high temperatures, and you'll notice most of us stayed out of the 90 degrees. It's a little unusual though to have Galveston being one of the warmest spots around. Normally those winds off of the Gulf moderate everything, the higher humidity levels, but it was just a different scenario yesterday with our winds out of the west and to the northwest, and Galveston was able to warm up a little bit more than the rest of us. So that's unusual to see one of the highest temperatures on the board here down in Galveston. Officially, Intercontinental Airport will put down 89 degrees for the high yesterday. This morning, did you get it? Were you up early at all? A little bit, I don't want to say cool, but I was surprised at the fact that you could really notice that little drop in humidity that we experienced. And again, as well, the temperatures were just a couple degrees cooler than what we've been seeing over the last couple of days. So that was something that was pleasant if you had a chance to get up pretty early this morning. It didn't take long for that to change, though. Once the sun started to come up, it definitely started to heat up pretty quick. And the humidity also, as I mentioned, is sort of coming back at us today. Here's our tower cam in front of the station. Plenty of blues in the sky, and those winds already starting to get turned out of the south now. Pretty light at 6 miles an hour, and we'll expect to see the dew points slowly try to creep up a little bit as that measurement of moisture continues to respond to those south winds. And so our feels like temperature, 86 degrees, pretty close to what's happening with the thermometers there at 84. So here's kind of the headlines, kind of what we've got happening. Again, quiet today, overall fairly pleasant, but still on the warm side. We're continuing that increase in humidity. We are expecting some heavy rounds of rain in the Thursday, Friday time frame, and it will be several rounds of it. So if you get one big batch of rain come through your neighborhood, don't think you're completely done. There certainly could be some more. Or if you go all day Thursday and not see any rain, then don't think that you missed out and not going to get any on Friday, because that's, again, certainly going to be the case with these sort of batches and rounds that are going to be moving through. And also, the overnight hours are certainly going to be a part of this equation as well. We're not only looking for the rain and the storms in the daytime. We could certainly see some in the evening. And then overall, when we look at next week's pattern, I think we're going to be pleased to see a little bit of a break from some of these rains. So here's our accumulation. How much rain are we expecting to fall over the next couple of days? We'll start with this on Thursday, and we move through into Thursday afternoon into early Friday morning. I'm pausing here at around 7 a.m. on Friday. You'll notice that definitely some heavy downpours have taken place, maybe as much as 2 to 3 inches in some spots isolated. perhaps a little bit more. You get the bigger picture here, right? All of this, again, happening north of Interstate 10 or the downtown Houston area. And that's sort of that pattern that we've been seeing, and we're going to see that again for sure. Temperatures in the mid-80s right now on the board. Fox Red Storm Seeker radar is quiet. We talked about these green shaded counties being a flood watch that has already been issued. These other green areas are our river flooding that we've been monitoring. So we still have some activity really up on the Trinity on the upstream side of Lake Livingston. Also on the Trinity as we get closer down towards the bay. And then the Brazos River also having a little bit of some minor flooding that's taking place. The gray counties are the ozone action day that's happened yesterday. We're doing that again today. Those light winds, those bright sunshine, just kind of keeping everything stagnant around. So Harris County, Galveston County, as well as Brazoria County is where we have that air quality alert for today. Current temperatures across the state, 84 up in Dallas, Fort Worth, 82 in San Antonio, very warm 85 in Del Rio, and we'll also do 82 degrees in the Midland area. Switching to the upper levels of our atmosphere now, you can see that upper level low, that's that energy that's going to really start to crank in these moisture stream. You can notice here, we got a few of these arrows sort of drawn in, and you see the wider shading. That's the more moisture-rich area. As this continues to move closer, as this whole system progresses to the east, we expect this to intensify. You'll get stronger amounts of that moisture, and then it gets funneled right over us here in southeast Texas, leading to those rain chances. So the Weather Prediction Center, with their excessive rainfall outlook, my map's not really showing that for us, unfortunately. This would be a great time to be able to show that we definitely have some of our red area. Let's switch to our next graphic and let's see if we can get it to play. Well, unfortunately, doesn't want to show there either. I'm going to have to get that ready and updated by the time we get to noon. Now, this is the severe weather element. So again, I do want to point out, even though my maps weren't cooperating with me, we do have the flooding threat that's going to be there, but the stormy weather also a possibility. So remember, the severe weather is always talking about hail, damaging winds, and even tornadoes. Tornadoes not really something that we're thinking is going to happen in this case, but you see those stronger storms with our Futurecast modeling there showing those moving through on Thursday, and we're going to extend this into Friday. So here's our accumulation that we're talking about, that we were expecting those higher numbers happening here in east and southeast Texas. Most of that happening on Thursday. That could include some of the overnight hours on Thursday and into Friday. So we'll continue to see that Thursday-Friday time frame being what we're mostly concerned with. Right now, south winds 6 miles an hour, 84 degrees, mostly partly cloudy to mostly clear is what we're seeing across the area. And watch our Futurecast. First of all, of course, these warm temperatures that we're looking for today into the 90s, but then we'll have a milder evening. It won't be as cool. I think it'll be more like 70 degrees instead of some of those upper 60s. And then here's where we're getting into Thursday in the afternoon, the heavier rain north of downtown Houston, but then it kind of gives us another round. Remember, I talked about these rounds of waves? Here we are at 1:30 in the morning on Friday. We get even later on Friday into the morning, closer to sunrise, another little batch moving through, and then we'll even do it again on Friday afternoon as this sort of backs up over us a little bit more as a warm front, bringing in a lot more moisture again. So I talked about that waves of rain. That's kind of what I was sort of focusing on. Warm this afternoon, so let's back it up a little bit to this afternoon. Again, very warm. We're not looking for activity on the radar. We are looking for some possible fog again tomorrow morning. And then here comes that afternoon showers and storms, primarily starting in the north. And then those different rounds will be different areas possibly when we move through the rest of the day on Friday. So we've knocked down the rain chances a little bit on Friday, mostly just to represent the fact that may be less likely to see some Friday afternoon as opposed to Friday morning. We're certainly looking for the highest of the rain chances on Thursday. And I talked about that quieter pattern. Notice when we get into the beginning of next week, we're looking at dropping those rain chances, at least a less than 10% chance. And even the weekend, we're still looking at relatively dry. Those chances of rain are going to be maybe 10 to 20% at the most when we get into the weekend. And with the lack of rain, those extra cloud cover and everything, the temperatures temperatures are definitely going to increase. All right, that'll do it for our morning weather update. Of course, coming up in about 20 minutes.